everybody, welcome back to our channel. This is John and Leah's Reviews, and today we're going to be doing a review on episodes 4 and 5 of the Challenge Season 40 era. So please stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts, and without further ado, let's get into it.
So getting started with episode 4, we come in and we see Aneesa is now a target. Everybody that's not on her team has sympathy towards her. Mainly her and Jenny are talking, and they're explaining how they want to run a final together. And they talk about Aneesa's knee injury at the end of her last challenge. She actually suffered a pretty crazy knee injury. Actually, like she tore I think she said her ACL, her MCL, and LCL. But she went through a lot. She started rehab, and she said the surgery was successful. She rehabbed, and she's back on her feet, ready to compete.
Yeah, nothing but respect for that. Even though Aneesa really isn't one of the strongest challengers, she is a staple within, this whole franchise. And so seeing her have that injury and then come back from it and being on season 40 is really, really great. So shout out to her. But it was nice to see in the beginning Jenny was kind of comforting her because Aneesa was feeling insecure about being the target, and she wasn't sure if she was, if her team lost, if she was going to come back. So it was nice to see that human side of Jenny just kind of, making sure that she was okay.
And Jenny has always seemed to have been a nice person. Like, Jenny never comes off as a mean human being, so that's always, just a normal, nice thing to see from Jenny. Mm-hmm. So we finally get to talk about the Vacation Alliance. This is the alliance formed between Devin, Josh, Tori and Casey. They went on a vacation together, I guess.
Yeah, they went on a vacation together, and ever since then, well, I think they were friends before that, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have gone on vacation together. But since when they came back to the challenge, they've always had each other's backs, and honestly, it's what's kind of made me not as interested as I was before, because they kind of dominate the game and everybody's just at their whim. But they did discuss that a little bit in this episode, which was a little bit interesting, I guess.
Well, I guess I can't say they necessarily dominate the game, because Johnny and Laurel have had their fingerprints on the game too.
I'm sorry, I guess in previous seasons where they were all on there, not this season specifically.
At the end of the day, to me it's a goofy alliance. If this is really an alliance and this is who you all are afraid of, then that's nuts. Do y'all really think the guys are afraid of Josh and Devin?
I don't think so. I think it's more so of the way that they use their connections. You see, they're all in that Vacation Alliance, right? But Devin's with true. Michelle.
That's very true.
Tori and Josh are super close. Josh is also close with Johnny. Casey is. I don't think she talks to anybody, honestly.
I have no idea how Casey gets alliances. I don't know. I've never understood it.
I don't get it. Maybe there's a whole different personality that we're not seeing, but I don't understand it. But I think the way that they play their alliances together and also build relationships outside of it to make people want them to be on top, that's how they've been able to dominate.
Just so nuts to me. Look at the targets for this week. After the last week's elimination, you have Palacio and Jenny. You have Jordan and Naya. You have Johnny and Laurel. And then you have Derek and Aneesa.
All right, so now we get into the actual challenge, which is trivia.
Everybody's favorite.
Exactly. It's called Cradle Cranium or Cranium Cradle, and TJ is super excited for it. I think this is one of his favorite challenges to do. And so basically they start above water and they're in a cradle position. TJ asks a series of questions, and there are a few categories. So we have geography, history, love stories, hookups, a little bit of random challenges in the wild, and there's difficulties ranging from 100 to 400, and basically the challengers can pick whichever category and the amount of points that they want to go for. TJ will ask them the question. If they get it right, they're safe. He moves on to the next group, and then if they're wrong, then two random people fall from the cradle. So this is going to be very interesting.
But getting into it, obviously early on, your early on favorites are obviously Jordan and Kylan. And this trivia was actually based on the challenge, the last 40 seasons. So as we see the challenge come up, who else would look completely terrible but Era One? But guess who else looked bad? the super fans of Era 4 equally look bad. And so we finally get a challenge where Era 1 does not come in dead last. But unfortunately, they get a massive injury to CT, who is the guy everybody is afraid of in the house, obviously. Like, nobody really wants to deal with CT. But he gets hurt, during the challenge. But we see him later on make a really... He made his recovery, came back from the hospital. He does look old, though. Like, he obviously looks like he has some miles on the show. And so, finally, we come down to it. It comes between Era 2 and Era 3, which seems to be the theme of the season. But Era 3 loses almost everybody but Jordan. And Jordan goes 1-on-5 to tie it up for Era 3 and Era 2 in order to go into sudden death, where he loses to Laurel. But did he throw it?
I definitely think he threw it. And I did just want to mention, too, during the trivia challenge when TJ was asking the questions, I'm not sure why he didn't have a microphone or something, because the way he was screaming it, I'm like, there's no way that he didn't have to repeat what he was saying, and it just sounds like a very long process from the way that they had it set up. But
I think TJ likes yelling.
That's fine, but I feel like there was a lot of huhs going on that were edited out. But I definitely do think that Jordan threw that challenge because he was at Corey and Cheyenne's baby shower. There's no way he didn't know that. And for him to just be like, I think he said, what was it, Sophia or something.
Well, he started to say the right name, and then he stopped.
Yeah.
He was like, it just slipped my mind.
And the way that he said it is just crazy. So Laurel and Johnny ended up winning, and now everybody has to plead their cases to them as to why they should not go into the challenge against Horacio and Jenny.
But I mean, once they got to the sit down, once they started pleading their cases, it was painfully obvious, even a little bit before that. It's very clear. Laurel was not going to throw in Jordan. It was not going to happen. And so, unfortunately, I mean, it's unfortunate, and Derek came in there pleading the best case possible. Johnny said he would have gave him an A++. He would have went with Derek's plan. Because Derek was like, man, look, man, we're broken, bruised, and battered. We're not beating anybody right now. Like, we're not going to beat anyone. All right? We're just trying to hang on. There's no reason you need to keep gunning for us. And Johnny was like, look, it ain't about me. It's about Laurel. I'm not going down there. So if Laurel not going to change her mind, I'm going to change mine for sure.
I'm trying to understand the dynamic between Laurel and Jordan. I don't know if there's something I missed. Obviously it is, because I didn't know that they were that close. Apparently they screwed around before, allegedly. I have no idea.
Way back when.
Whatever. But from what they got going on, you would think they were still doing it, or something is happening. But for Jordan to throw that, he
just knows Laurel. He knows Laurel isn't going to throw him in. And the fact is, he knows Laurel's not going to throw him in for the same reason that I think the rest of us probably know Laurel's not going to throw him in. Like, at the end of the day, Jordan going down there against pretty much anybody is almost like an 80-20 split with Jordan coming back. Mm-hmm. And if Jordan comes back and he does not like you, we've already seen in the past, Jordan has no problems going into elimination on his own. He'll go down there by himself. He'll go down there himself. He has no fear. And one thing we know is Jordan also can hold a grudge. Like, if Jordan don't like you, he will target you every single chance he gets, every opportunity he gets. And so I think it might be a little bit of both, respect and relationship, but it's also a little bit of fear. Like, I don't want to risk pissing off Jordan right now. It's still early enough in the game. I don't want to risk, doing this damage right now at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm just shocked that Laurel has any friends. But anyway, so yeah, Derek comes in and he pleads a great case. He brings out his notes. He's writing down everything. Johnny, again, said that he would rate him at A+.
With a star.
With a star.
But, I mean, it's, of course, to no avail. They end up going to the elimination where, of course, it is Derek and Aneesa versus Horacio and Jenny. And a ball pit, and it's actually jacks, and it's a crazy way. It's a brand new way that they've shown you doing jacks. So essentially, the ball goes into, you have to hurl the ball to the top point of a pinwheel type of thing coming down. The ball goes up and then it rolls itself down. You have to run and pick up jacks essentially like large pieces that are formed like jacks, and then you have to go to the end of the actual ball roll and catch the ball. If you miss the ball, you have to drop all of the jacks off in a further position, and then you have to go back and try to throw the ball back up and do the same thing again. Now, the first heat was Jenny and Aneesa. If you would have told me Jenny would win, I would have said, duh. I would have been like, yeah, of course. Like, there's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that Jenny is going to win. Aneesa made this very close. Jenny won by one singular ball. And Aneesa was coming back with her ball when Jenny was going to get her last ball.
It was not a blowout by any means.
And
so I have nothing but respect for Aneesa.
Yeah, I think she definitely showed that she's still a competitor. I mean, I definitely think it also says a little bit about Jenny. Like, she might have to get that wind up because she looked almost dead on her feet.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that could be some edits. Who knows? But that's just what we could see.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, in the second heat, we have, the main event. People, everybody's been hyping up Palacio to be this strong guy, this really strong individual. We had him versus Derek. And this is also the biggest controversial thing, apparently, this season of the challenge. We had them do their matchup. And I think, from what I saw Derek finish. But I also saw him put all of his jacks in. But I know Derek had a spot where he missed the ball and he ran into the board and a lot of his jacks fell.
So people don't know if that should be counted or not.
But the jacks were already in the board. He ran into the board and they fell out. So I think what a lot of people were seeing was like 2 or 3 slots that didn't have a jack in them. But if you go back on the episode and you look, he had literally specifically put jacks in those spots. Mm-hmm. So I think he just ran into the board and they fell out and they were like, okay, that's still counted. Like he didn't drop. It's not like the jacks were in his hand and they dropped. They were already on the board and he ran into it. So Derek, of course, pulls out the win. Little Tasmanian devil motherfucker.
I also think, like, Horacio, I think he was a little bit overconfident because the last time that he put the jacks into the board, he was kind of walking, brisk walking. It was like la-di-do, la-di-day.
Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Move!
And if he had moved, he probably would have won. But his carefree attitude and just thinking that he had it in the bag definitely came back to bite him.
And Derek was running.
Exactly. And honestly, like, for me, like, because I had saw, like, some spoilers on Reddit before, and I was like, oh, this is so unfair, blah, blah, blah. And then when I actually watched it, I was like...
He kind of did it to himself.
Yeah, it looks pretty fair to me, and I don't think the challenge producers would do anything like that, especially when there were so many witnesses around to see. So yeah, I think Derek won that fair and square, and I'm very happy because Lord knows that Era 1 needs as many people as they can get. So very glad that happened. Shout out to Jenny, shout out to Derek. But at the end of the episode, they went ahead and chose the targets for the next one. So we have Nehemiah and Emily, CT and Tina, Devin and Tori, and Kylan and Olivia.
I definitely think Brad should have stepped up after seeing CT got hurt in the previous challenge. He should have been like, you know what? I'm going to take this one on. Chris, rest up for a second. Like, CT was the target, and everybody was scared. Corey was terrified. He said, I'm not going in, and Devin ended up becoming the target. Then you had Josh, who was supposed to become the target. He was also scared, so he did not volunteer. Therefore, Kylan became the target. So, I mean, it just kind of goes to show, CT still carries a lot of fear for a lot of people in that house.
Right, so after all of that, I mean, I would personally rate episode 4 maybe like a 6. I mean, it was entertaining, but I mean, it wasn't one of the best episodes, in my opinion. What would you rate it?
I gotta give it a 7.
6 and a 7? All right.
6 and a 7.
So now we'll go ahead and go on to episode 5. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and review episode 5, and it starts off with Era 4 being extremely pissed at Josh for not volunteering to be the target. Everybody else on the team has done it at some point, and so for him to not volunteer was kind of a slap in the face just because he was afraid of CT. I mean, who isn't afraid of CT? But at the same time, like, everybody on the team has to carry their weight, and they didn't feel like he was. Also, wasn't Michelle supposed to volunteer as well? I feel like Michelle doesn't really get very much smoke, and it's probably because of the relationships that she's built within her team and outside of it. However, everybody else has been a target. But Josh and Michelle, they target Josh and leave Michelle as if nothing happened. So that was interesting. We did see a couple of, things. There was a barbecue. We see that Nia and Kylan are locked in. Like every time they show them, they're making out or hanging out with each other, which I think is really, really cute. Also during this barbecue, Kara and Laurel were playing ping pong together, and I'm like, what the heck is this relationship? Because I feel like
I thought they were playing badminton.
They were doing something together. Either way, they were doing an activity together, and it looked like they were having fun. So I guess, like, what everybody describes on the challenge is their relationship, I just don't understand. And I'm just going to have to admit that to myself, because if you don't like this person so much and she gets you, so fired up and she throws you in on the first challenge, like Polly was saying to Kara in the beginning, like, why would you even want to be in that space? Like, just don't even worry about her. But for some reason, I feel like Kara just... like, she wants Laura to like her so
She
badly.
has Stockholm Syndrome. Like, she really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess I'm just like, do they like each other? Do they not? What's going on? But, yep, they were playing a game together. Right, so we also see that Olivia, Theo, Devin, and Michelle, they are locked in as well. Olivia and Theo are super cute. They're always hanging out together. And then Devin and Michelle, it seems like they're like a couple. I've never seen Devin like this on the challenge, unless it's something that I've missed. So it is very, very interesting to see.
Well, no, Devin's always said, being in a relationship on the challenge is just the worst idea. But, so he's never really been this way on the challenge.
Yeah. So it's interesting. There are also a few shots, like we saw their kitchen, which is like a slope. I'm like, first of all, how do you cook in here? I feel like you're just going to be like leaning down and trying to see all of the things.
Well, Theo has been sitting down every time now. Yeah. So, obviously you cannot stand in there and cook.
That kitchen looks insane. It's just like a big hallway, like a stove. Like, it just looks so weird. I don't know what the thought process was for that. After that, Nehemiah goes to Devin to make a deal. Do you want to explain that?
So, Nehemiah goes to Devin to make a deal, and he's trying to essentially tell Devin, like, look, if y'all look out for us, we'll look out for you. We should be trying to get Era 4 out of here because, they're another strong team. Devin, of course, being Devin, he said, of course, I would love to take the deal. Like, I think that would be an excellent idea. We can get rid of Era 4, and then we can just go head-to-head and duke it out. We can get rid of Era 4 and Era 1, and then we can just go head-to-head and duke it out. But of course he was like, I have to go back to my team and see what they say. Like, I have to be diplomatic about this. This is a team, at least for right now. So I have to do things the diplomatic way. And does this come back to bite Nehemiah in the ass this episode? But until then,
we'll go over that a little bit later. Then we go ahead and get into the challenge for today. So basically, each era is going to pick up a giant Y-shaped beam. It's heavy and it's awkward. They're going to navigate through the trees until they come to the sandbags. They have to grab 4 of them and bring them back to the station where they have one large balance beam, and they have to drop it off and balance them. And the first team that can get down and back and balance everything wins the challenge. So during this, we see that Era 1, once again, absolutely sucks with communication. It seems like they're unable to work together. Tina's screaming at everybody that they're not listening to her. CT's screaming. Nobody's listening or working together.
Derek's saying, let's go here. CT's saying, let's go there. Mm-hmm. Tina's saying, let's do this. Brad's saying, well, let's do this. Mm-hmm. Like, it's too many chefs in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think the teams that work together, Era 2 had a few hiccups here and there, but it wasn't, as significant as Era 1. Era 3, I think Jordan was yelling quite a bit, which is kind of typical for him, so it is what it is. But Era 4, of course, I feel like they had the best communication, and they have had the best communication since the season has started. So after all that, of course, after what I said, Era 4 wins. So Jenny and Kylan are safe. Um, then it was Era 2, it was Era 3, and then Era 1, of course. And everybody was kind of shocked by Era 2 because they thought that Laurel would throw it. But surprisingly, she didn't.
Well, remember, they come back later on to say that Laurel was not giving her 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And then Laurel says, she alludes to, why would I want Emily to stay here? I think she might be competition in the end. Why would I want her to stay? So, I mean, Laurel has a history of throwing challenges when she does not want somebody on her team, which is why I never understand why people always talk about taking the high road or being a bigger person about things. Like, that's just so stupid to me. Like, I'm going low. Like, if you can go low, I'm going to go as low as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So.
Petition to not have Laurel back on the challenge. I'll sign first. It was just funny too because at the end, like when everybody got their placements, Tina was yelling at CT. CT was yelling at Tina. He was like, "We followed what you did. You told us to go that way. We went that way." And Tina was like, "Bob and weave, bitch." So it was like really funny seeing that. But it's like the challenge is over and you're still arguing. Like there's no teamwork here at all.
You wanted to go that way. We said let's go this way. I mean, at the end of the challenge, they said, like, CT apologized to her. He said, "I'm sorry, I just don't like losing." And she said the same thing. Like, I think it's just the fact is, none of them are used to losing, and none of them are used to listening to other people. They're used to everybody listening to them.
Mm-hmm. And also, these challenges have been, like, I don't know. You'd correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of them have been mental challenges, and I think that Era 1 probably isn't used to that. Like I feel like some people from Era 2, they've kind of had like a little bit of the best of both worlds or kind of like came on the tail end of it, but they have to use their minds a lot more in this season, I feel, and maybe that's just something that they're not used to.
Could be very true, actually.
So I mean, sucks to see it.
My pick is going down.
I know. One by one. So now we're in the part where all of the targets are trying to explain themselves and why they shouldn't be thrown into the elimination. And it was very interesting because Devin ended up exposing that Nehemiah came to him for a deal. And Emily was like, I mean, I didn't come to you for, wait, was I there? And everybody just got quiet. So, and also, I don't know why Nehemiah was trying to lie about it as if they weren't going to play it back or as if we didn't see it before. You definitely went to Devin and you tried to make a deal with him saying, if you save me, I save you. And Devin wasn't going for it. So you tried to act like it didn't happen.
It's not that Devin wasn't going for it. He just had to talk to his team. His team probably was like,
he was not going for it because what Devin thinks, like I guess he's smart in the challenge, right? So like what benefit would there be if I saved Nehemiah?
Because if Era 2 would have won that day, then Nehemiah would have said, "I'm not going to say your name." That's what I'm saying. Like, I think Devin
Devin cares about that.
think he definitely cared about it because if Era 2 would have won, then it would have came down to whoever came in last, and then it would have came down to whoever Nehemiah and Emily thought were the strong. Remember, Nehemiah and Emily are not relationship filled in this house, so they were liable to put in who they think is the strongest two teams.
I get that, but at the end of the day, Devin wasn't at the bottom, so he wasn't even. I'm sure
he was a target. But what I'm saying is, you're a target, and Era 2 is strong. That's why I'm saying it would have made sense for Devin to go ahead and take that deal because it's not like Era 2 sweet. They just won the last challenge. And I mean, they smoked the rest of the field. They just couldn't beat Jordan. They smoked everybody else. And so, I mean, my thing about it is just like, I would have got it if Devin would have took the deal. But I think what happened is Devin probably went back to his team and they were like, look, it's too many of us working with Era 4 to work with Era 2 too. Like, it's just not going to work. Or at least now, it's too many of us working with Era 4 to work with Nehemiah, who's not working with anyone. Like, that's just nuts.
I just feel like Nehemiah was absolutely out of his mind.
I mean, I can agree with that.
I don't know why he did that. But yeah, deliberation goes on. And then afterwards, Michelle confronts Laurel for treating her differently. And they were actually having a pretty good conversation, a little bit of back and forth as far as like how their relationship started versus how it is now.
Carr interjected herself and said, "Michelle, I'll be your friend," which was so unnecessary. Like, and I mean, that's the part, like, that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying I like Laurel, and I get why she be saying Cara Maria is annoying, but, like, that's one of the moments where it's like, bruh, like, why are you interjecting yourself in this to do that? Like, Like it's just like she clearly wants to be in her space. Like she
Mm-hmm.
wants Laurel to like her, which is weird. Like I'm on Paulie's side in this. Like that's just weird to me. Why do you crave for a person who dislikes you and shows you that they don't care about who you are as a person, let alone your feelings? Why do you crave their attention and their approval so much? That shit is weird.
It definitely is, and I think it's very weird how she went up and said, "I'll be your friend," and then her and Michelle were kind of like talking, and I guess feelings were boiling over. Cara ended up confronting Laurel, and they get into this big blowout, and it's so crazy because I really don't even know what it was about. I literally don't. I just don't understand the relationship. What are they arguing about? Why don't they get along? Like, and Laura was saying like all the things that I did for you, and Cara ended up crying. I don't get it. Did you understand? Maybe I'm missing something because
I
I
don't
don't
get it
understand.
either. I'm just so confused. Like I don't know. I could never understand exactly what propels you to be in a situation where you garner this respect for somebody that constantly treats you like dirt. I just I couldn't understand it.
I don't. Apparently, that argument was going on for 2
Hours.
hours. You could see Theo and Kylan kind of coming to Laurel's side, and there were quite a few people who were at Kara's side, and Kara was talking about how she had recently dyed her hair and she was crying. So I guess that was the end of that. To be honest, like I would go into more detail about it, but if I can't find the root of the issue and I don't know what they're arguing about, it's really hard for me to spend any more time on it. Um, I don't feel sympathy for Kara in this situation, and usually I do, and that's because she interjected herself into this whole thing that was going on between Laurel and Michelle. And you know, if that's their issue, like let that be their issue, let them talk it out. But you interjecting yourself is just inappropriate, and you kind of get what's coming to you at that point. So no sympathy for Kara on my end. So then we get to the elimination round with the nails.
The most interesting elimination round by far.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, this is just giving me the theme of this season. It's not going to be like really any headbangers anymore. It seems like it's not going to be like physical challenges. Really, it's just going to be like almost brain teaser or everyday house chores to see who can do them the fastest. This is what that was essentially. We come up to two boards, and boards have nails in them. We come up to four boards. I'm sorry, and it's two boards to a player, and they all have nails in them. So every player has to take the nails out of the board on the left and re-nail them in on the right. And so, first round, first heat, it is Tina versus Emily. And when I say this was over in the blink of an eye, Tina did say, "Hey, I do a lot of DIY at home. I'm a card carrying member at Home Depot. I go there all the time. I love going to Home Depot. I love doing like work around my house. I love doing all of that type of stuff. She showed it. All right. She beat Emily maybe in I think in all genuine honesty, it might have been 5 actual minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it may have been. She had some type of strategy. She turned it sideways. She pulled out all the nails. And the nails were just dropping off for her essentially. And she smoked Emily. Now, there are some conspiracies. Some people are saying that Tina's nails couldn't have been pushed in the same way everybody else's were, but I don't know. Maybe she just did it correctly, and I don't think anybody else did it exactly how she did it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that could be up for debate. I don't know.
We don't know
because it's like when everybody else tried to do it, it's like the nails weren't budging or they were just going downward. So I mean, I'm curious to see if it was or to know if it was a part of her technique or if it was the loose nails. But either way, I mean, that was impressive.
Kudos to Tina. Mm-hmm. Tina smoked it. And then we move on to, of course, the round of CT versus Nehemiah. And ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. Nehemiah pulls off the upset that nobody saw coming. CT, doing construction, he used to actually work in construction, was beat by Nehemiah. And I think the entire house was completely flabbergasted. The game was flipped upside down. It took who a lot of people probably considered the front runner out of the game. Whenever CT walks into the game, he might look out of shape. You might not know like what CT you're going to get during the challenge, but if CT gets to a final, it's probably a really good chance that he's either going to win it or he's going to come like really close in second. And so right here, we lose, of course, CT and Emily, but Tina and Nehemiah come back and they make huge waves with choosing new targets. Brad and Rachel. We get Johnny and Laurel. This is the funniest one to me. We get Corey, and Johnny was swearing up and down like she was rooting for Nehemiah because she didn't think he would choose her just for Nehemiah to choose her.
As he should have. As he should have.
Oh, man, I had a tear in my eye when he did it. All right, I'm sorry, but then we finally get Josh, and drum roll, please, Jenny. Which I'm starting to feel bad for Jenny. Jenny is just getting thrown into that pole position where all of the guys are rotating on their team now, but the girls are obviously not rotating. KC's not going back in. Michelle hasn't taken her shot yet. Like, she still has not been voted back in. And so I'm already starting to feel kind of bad for Jenny. But, in and off this episode, what would you give this episode?
I give this episode an 8.
Oh, you give it an 8?
I give it an 8.
Because of the elimination, or what?
No, just because of all of it. Like, we had the barbecue, we had the Laurel and Cara scene. I thought the elimination was pretty interesting just because of Era 1. And I feel like we were pretty locked in on that elimination challenge with, Tina dominating and then with Nehemiah beating CT. So, I'll give it an 8. It was very entertaining. I definitely feel like I was locked in for more than like 80% of the episode.
Okay.
How about you?
I think I'll give it an 8 too, actually. You made some really good points. I think we definitely were locked in majority of the episode, if not the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the eliminations were both like huge, huge shockers. I want a good old fashioned headbanger.
Me too. I don't know, maybe they're setting it up to have everybody kind of be in Era 3 and Era 4's corner because they keep on giving them mental things and there's no headbangers or really physical elimination. So I think that's very interesting. And that's why I'm still, even from episode 4, why I'm so happy that Aneesa she lost, but she didn't lose in a crazy way because It was about, endurance as well. So, Era 1, we got to get it together.
Please. And with that, it will conclude us discussing the challenge. These are episodes 4 and 5. Please look out for the video on episodes 6 and 7 coming soon. We would like to thank you all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And please let us know if there's anything else you would like us to discuss.